Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dear Aline. Today, we are going to talk about crypto and finance, and should you invest in crypto, and how do you do it, and how does it work, and is all of your money going to disappear? And because I don't have any of the answers to these questions, we have invited Oriel all the way from France/Israel to answer your questions.
Well, I'm just a guy that's been working into this industry for a few years, and since we're building something that is helping people to get started into crypto, maybe we can talk about that and help your viewers here.
Perfect. So I know you have a company called ZenGo, and what exactly does it do for the user? Can you explain to us?
So ZenGo is a crypto wallet to help people to get started and invest into cryptocurrencies in a very, very simple way.
Perfect. And I just want to make it clear, everyone who's watching, this is not sponsored. The way we met is I was talking to my boyfriend, Nasir, and I was like, hey, I want to do a crypto video. Who can explain it really simply? And he was like, oh, I work with this guy. You should interview him. So yeah, this is not sponsored in any way. This is a conversation to help you guys. It is not a promotion. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, what is crypto like a 5-year-old would understand? What is like my mother and me would understand?
Well, it's digital money. Simply said, very simple digital form of money. The property of cryptocurrencies is that the money is rare and unique and can be proven as such, and it's capped to its amount. As you probably know, our dear governments can print money all the time, but in Bitcoin, you can't do that. It's money that is capped at 21 million, for example, for Bitcoin. What that means for normal people is that there is a very strong value to this digital currency. And because it's digital, it can be sent anywhere in the world. There is no restriction, at least in theory, and it's very, very accessible to anyone who has a mobile phone and can access it very, very simply with all sorts of tools out there.
21 million Bitcoin that exist. And who decided this? Was that a machine or was that some, really smart internet person?
So a program is created by human people. There are human beings that created that, and it didn't come out of a machine. We're not yet in the era of AI, that programs are made by programs, at least not yet.
I'll be back.
First, there was a human being and a group of human beings. So the original person that created Bitcoin is called Satoshi Nakamoto. It's a name that no one knows really who he is. And he programmed Bitcoin and the original code of Bitcoin to make sure that there will never be more than the 21 million. Why 21 million exactly? It was an arbitrary decision. It was an arbitrary decision based on certain rules of economics and to make sure that it was going to be high enough that it would be accessible to a maximum number of people.
So I have about 16% of my cash portfolio is in Bitcoin. First, what percent of your personal portfolio is in crypto?
So I try to not disclose too much what I do, and I don't think I'm a good example. But I think the more important question is how much someone should allocate of his money to Bitcoin. And the simple answer is the following, is that so the right way to think about cryptocurrency is as a new territory and of investment. As in every new territory of investment, there are risks. So consider that this is a risky territory of investments. Once you know that, you have to feel comfortable with that risk. And the right way to think about risk is to make sure that if this money goes to zero, right, you will feel comfortable at it. You will be able to sleep at night. So don't take loans, don't get into financial trouble just to get into cryptocurrency, allocate of that. And so some people say, and the percentage depends on whoever you speak to allocate between 1 to 10%, okay, ideally of your net worth, but it's really depending on your appetite to risks. And so just feel comfortable with that number. Point number one, and whatever number you decide, start slow, right? Start very, very slowly, start with low amounts, get familiar. And then progressively, if you like it, you can move forward. But it's very important to understand that you limit your risk by limiting your asset worth and by moving slowly at first.
So for example, I heard a good idea, and let me know if you agree with this, is let's say you're planning to invest $1,000 in crypto, and that's, maybe you have 10,000 and you want to do 10%, just an example. So they say the best thing to do is not to put all 1,000 at once. It's to put maybe like 100 every week or 100 every month, so that you're kind of capturing the highs and lows of the market. Would you agree with this approach being a good idea?
It's one of the possibilities. It's called DCA, dollar cost average, meaning that you buy regularly the exact same amount of dollars or whatever currency of a particular investment, in that case Bitcoin. And that because the price is volatile and changing every second virtually, you are always optimizing for an average, hence the expression. So it's a possibility. You can do that manually, or you can do that automatically. Certain services allow you to buy automatically this amount of money. And it's a good way to start. Another way to start is just to buy once, okay, and to understand the concept of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And by the way, this is very important. Never invest in things you do not understand. Don't invest because your friends told you, or you read a headline in the newspaper, or because you heard two random people talking about it. Understand what it is, understand what it works, how it works, and how you gain confidence. Also increase your exposure if you feel comfortable with it.
A very common question we have from everybody on Instagram is literally, how do you start? Like, for example, you have your company, there's other companies. Is there a company that, like, what tools do they use, or where can they figure out what company is best for them in their country? A lot of people genuinely don't know like who to trust and where they can buy crypto. Do you have any?
Yeah, and it's a legitimate question because there are so many options. Okay, so in terms of simple, you have basically two possibilities. The first one is to go to your typical application for finance. Most of them have an ability for you to buy Bitcoin. For example, Robinhood has it, banking apps like Revolut have it, Cash App has it. There is a problem though, right? And you don't realize it at first. It's convenient, it's there. PayPal has it, right? But you very quickly understand that what you have purchased is not yours. What does that mean? Is that you will not be able to send it and to participate in the crypto economy. If you want to, for example, convert it to another cryptocurrency, buy an NFT, or play to a crypto game, it will stay on that platform. It's simple, it's right there, it's probably already in your pocket, but you will be stuck with those services. But that's option number one. Option number two is to go to a more native option to buy Bitcoin, and there are many out there. You have what's called an exchange. An exchange is typically a service like a trade platform, right? Where you can buy and sell like stocks, but this time for cryptocurrency. One of the most famous is called Coinbase. Another famous is called Binance, and there are a few more. And sometimes, this is convenient if you are a US person. If you live outside of the US, sometimes you have local players in your own country that are exchanges for your country. And then you have like global players. We are one of them. For example, on Zengo, you can buy in 130 countries, but there are many services that allow that. And then you have to ask yourself how much you want to invest and how you want to pay. So some of them allow you to buy with credit cards, which is very convenient. Some of them allow you to pay with a bank wire. So a good way to actually find the right thing for you is to ask around your friends that you trust, what are they using already? Okay, so that's kind of one input. The second input is to go to trusted sources of information and see what they are recommending. And what we usually like to say is like, don't make one choice. Maybe try 2 or 3 services, buy very little in each one of them and see which one looks best for you. Something super important, especially for beginners, there is a lot of scams out there. Very important to make sure that you are downloading from the right place, the app, or you're using the right original application and not the fake URL. Then make sure that you are very careful with your passwords and your secrets and your credit card.
Another question that we've gotten quite a few of is, what's the earliest age you can invest at? Like, we have 17-year-olds, we have 15-year-olds. Is crypto like age limited? Do you need like a passport to prove your age signing up, or can people invest as teenagers?
So there are two things with crypto. You don't have to invest to own it, right? So this is something that people don't realize at first. But there is this notion that if you want Bitcoin, you have to buy it, and then you have to be an investor. There are laws about investment. You cannot invest if you are a minor. If you try to create an account on Robinhood and you are not above 18 years old, you will not be able to. It's the same on our system. It's the same everywhere. There are laws, and exposure to financial products is limited to adults, or what the legal age of adult. However, owning Bitcoin, okay, the same owning cash, is not age limited. You can give tip money to your kids, okay? You can give a gift to your nephew, even if he's not 18 years old. And so for people who are not in age of investing, the best advice that I would find is to try to convince some of their relative parents, their uncles, to buy it, and then send it to you. And so you can create easily a wallet, okay, somewhere, and then you receive it. And it works as if you were sending an email. You will have an address, and you receive to that address. And that's how you can own Bitcoin without earning it.
Okay, another question. Every question we got multiple times. So these are like the most wanted ones. Is
Sure.
How is this different from investing in index funds, or they call it share markets in other countries?
So it's not different in the sense that you have an asset, which is in that cryptocurrency, and the price. And the price is moving by the second because it's basically depending on the demand and the supply of this asset at a given moment. So it's not different in that way. And if you are looking at the crypto exchanges, the trading platforms, they look very much like typical trading platform for stocks, right? And by the way, there's a reason Robinhood offer also that, is because it's basically looking like it, right? You have a graph, you have a price, etc. But there is a huge difference, is that those financial products, those ETFs and everything, are basically titles that just allow you exposure to a certain price. And what you can do with them is only getting exposed and possibly selling them to get back to cash, right? So you're buying a certain financial asset that's exposing you to a certain mechanism and etc., but you cannot do anything with them. In cryptocurrency, however, and again, if you're buying it the right way, you will have an asset that will allow you to participate in an entire crypto economy and an entire economy of digital assets. So what can you do with it, right? You can pay people across the world with a way simpler way than making a bank wire. So you can pay people. Number two, you can participate in DeFi, decentralized finance services, meaning you can get exposed to all sorts of lending and borrowing mechanisms that will give you great return with certain risk, but great return. You can buy NFTs, digital collectible assets. For example, sports fan items, right? You can buy digital art with your cryptocurrency and own it digitally. You can participate in crypto games, and you can do all these kind of things that with an asset that himself is accruing in value over time because there is demand and supply like a typical financial asset, but you can also participate in the crypto economy and do all this great stuff and even earn more money by doing that. So in a way, it's as if you were becoming your own little bank, right? You're becoming your own little bank and your own little bank manager.
Bitcoin price is already too high. Is it worth investing now, or is it too late?
So the Bitcoin price has grown enormously, and there is no yes or no answer. You have to feel comfortable. I personally, I'm very bullish, and I think many people are, that it's going to keep increasing because the narrative about Bitcoin is that the new store of value replacing gold. And so the potential for its value is still enormous. There is a risk that it will never happen, but it's still a possibly very good investment.
What's just the smallest amount you can invest?
So in theory, there is no minimum amount. You can own as little as $0.00001 of Bitcoin. But the problem is that when you make an investment, you have to use traditional forms of payment, a credit card, a bank wire. And so those systems require a very little minimum so that they cover the cost of the operation. So traditionally, you will have different services that will offer various minimum between $20 to $100. For example, in our case, the minimum is $100. But it will never be lower than $20 to $50. So that's really the minimum.
Would you invest from Kiki? Would you invest in crypto coins that are not popular? So not Bitcoin, not Ethereum, like the alternative coins.
So the answer is always be careful, but remember, Bitcoin was not popular at first, and the question is, would you now invest in Bitcoin 10 years ago, knowing what Bitcoin is today? And you can say the same about Ethereum, right, which is the second most popular, and many others. They always start by being unpopular, but the common thread is they became valuable because they're creating value. You need to understand into what you invest. So you can invest early in a coin, but don't invest early in a coin because you heard about it on Twitter or on YouTube, and invest in things you understand. And that's what really matters. And if you deeply connect, there is a chance that you're making a good investment.
What are your views on NFTs? I'm an artist and I really want to know how it can help me as an artist in the long run.
NFT is a fascinating thing because it's the natural extension of blockchain to non-financial assets. And it gives to any creator the possibility to basically short circuit and remove all the middlemen between you, the creator, and the consumer of your art, right? So whoever it can be, whether this is a text file, whether this is an image, whether this is a sound. And blockchain enables that because it's a peer-to-peer technology, meaning it connects you directly to the person who is on the other side without needing anyone in the middle. So I think it's a great way for people anywhere in the world to create their art, to put it transparently into a technology that allows anyone in the world to consume it, to access it, to pay for it, to buy it, and to own it.
I love it. Okay, and how do taxes work with crypto? Is crypto the same as other money? Like if you make money in crypto, are you taxed the same as if you make money in the stock market?
Yes, breaking news. There are taxes. The only thing that is certain is death in life.
It's death and taxes.
You will pay taxes and you will die one day. That's 100% certain, and it's true also for cryptocurrency. It's actually that's the easy answer. The fairly complex answer is that depending on how you're dealing with cryptocurrency, whether you keep it short term, whether you're selling it, which type of assets, what you're doing with it, etc. There is different type of range of taxes. And so usually the best way to deal with it is either to have an accountant, a CPA, right, that will handle it for you. It's like the short solution. But now you have also crypto tax services, software that will basically ask you where you made your purchases and where you made your investment. They will import all your history and they will output the report and even pay the taxes for you, right? Unless you live in a country that has very clear regulation. I know sometimes in the Bahamas and stuff like that, they say tax-free, no free. Like for example, in Portugal, they exempt you of any tax on cryptocurrencies. That's what I heard. Okay, or I think also it's the case in Dubai.
I mean, Dubai is tax-free, not specifically for crypto, but for everything. It's tax-free.
For everything. So there are
except for Americans, because we're double taxed. But
double tax. So I was about to say there are always exceptions, and therefore it's not a general rule. But the thing that is certain is that profits, no matter what type of assets you have, are going to be taxed. So don't think that because you're in cryptocurrency, you're going to have everything for you and nothing to be paid. You will have to pay your bills like everyone.
Tragic. Well, on that tragic note, those are all of our questions and my questions. Okay. I want to give you a final opportunity. Is there any, think of us as your friends, your, internet friends and a lot of children out there. What is your final thoughts on crypto and investing?
I think it's one of the most exciting revolutions of our time. Because it's truly the first time that there is an opportunity to change the access to wealth the way we know it, which has traditionally been reserved to privileged people that live in developed countries or that have access to banks And so there is a huge amount of people, if not the majority of the human population, that does not have access to that. And for me, it's exciting because we can change the game, we can change the rules. The only condition for that is you need to own your crypto. So it's very important that as you make your path through, always ask yourself whether you're investing the right way or whether you're taking a shortcut that basically does not allow you to participate in the game, if I may say so. And if you are beginning, lucky you, it's a fascinating world. You're going to really be excited about what you discover, and it's a never-ending rabbit hole. You will learn and learn more things. This is just lesson 0. There are many more that you will find down the road.
I do have one final question that I remember that I did not write down, but I saw a couple of people ask me. Some people say that, you know, cryptocurrency allows more bad stuff to happen, right? Like black markets and trafficking and things like that. What do you have? What are your thoughts on that?
So any new technology is always used for good and bad things. It was the same in the early days of the internet, that people were scared to buy things on the internet because your credit card could get stolen, right? And so people didn't dare. And the internet was used for all sorts of bad forums and all sorts of dirty things that you don't want to name even. But look at where we are today, 20 years later with the internet. We can make a great podcast like this. You can go and shop safely on all sorts of websites. You can sell all sorts of things on the internet wherever you are in the world. And the same can be true of cryptocurrency. It's true. Cryptocurrency for a long time was used for not so noble purposes. And some of them made the headline and they are clickbaity and impressive. But you have to remember, there was an analysis that was done recently. Only 2% of all crypto transactions are used for negative purposes, for fraud, for scams. If you're looking at the real world money, it's way, 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 way